Will a young girl, marked by the river goddess, overcome the empress's schemes, and can their kingdom unite before old fears and new storms tear it apart? In a land far across the African plains, nestled between vast rivers and towering baobab trees, lay the kingdom of Igbozu. This was a mighty kingdom, ruled by Empress Adaku, a woman known for her cunning and iron-fisted rule. It was said that she feared no one, not even the gods. But one fateful day, her strength would be tested in a way she never expected. The kingdom had a long-standing tradition. When a great king passed away, a young maiden from the village was chosen to accompany him to the afterlife. This was seen as a great honor, though in truth, it was a cruel fate. The maiden would be buried alive alongside the king's body, her spirit meant to serve him in the next world. When the old King Eze Obinna breathed his last, the village elders gathered in the palace to choose the maiden who would be sacrificed. Their eyes soon fell upon a girl named Nnenna. She was the most beautiful girl in all of Igbozu, with skin the color of rich mahogany, and eyes that shone like the night sky. But more than her beauty, Nnenna was different. She carried herself with an air of dignity that unsettled even the elders. Some whispered that she was not an ordinary girl, that she had powerful blood running through her veins. The moment her name was called, a hush fell over the village. Her mother, a woman named Mama Ifeoma, fell to her knees, wailing. "You cannot take my daughter," she cried. But no one paid her any mind. The tradition had spoken, and no one could defy it. Or so they thought. As Nnenna was led to the palace, she did not cry or beg. Instead, she held her head high and walked like a queen herself. When she stood before Empress Adaku, something strange happened. The empress felt a shiver crawl down her spine. She had never feared anyone, but looking into Nnenna's deep, knowing eyes, she felt a power greater than her own staring back at her. "Are you not afraid?" Empress Adaku asked, her voice sharp. Nnenna smiled. "Why should I fear, when I know the gods watch over me?" The empress scoffed, but inside, unease gnawed at her. She needed to know who this girl truly was. That night, she summoned her chief diviner, Baba Ekwim, a man who had served the royal family for generations. He was a bent old man, his face a map of wrinkles, but his sight was clearer than most. When Baba Ekwim saw Nnenna, he gasped and fell to his knees. "This child is no ordinary girl," he murmured. "Her blood carries the mark of the river goddess, Uhamiri. If you harm her, the wrath of the gods will descend upon this kingdom." The empress's face turned pale. She had heard of Uhamiri, the goddess of wealth and justice, who blessed those she favored and destroyed those who wronged her children. But she was a woman of reason, not of superstition. "You mean to tell me that this mere girl is a daughter of the gods?" she scoffed. Baba Ekwim nodded gravely. "Her great-grandmother was chosen by Uhamiri herself. To harm her is to challenge the gods." The empress was silent. If this were true, sacrificing Nnenna would bring disaster upon the land. But if she spared her, the elders and chiefs would see her as weak. She was trapped between the will of the people and the wrath of the gods. That night, as the village prepared for the burial, dark clouds gathered over the palace. Thunder rumbled like the voices of angry spirits. Just as Nnenna was being led to the king's tomb, a mighty wind tore through the village, uprooting trees and sending people running in terror. A voice, deep and echoing like the river's roar, filled the air. "You dare spill the blood of my child?" Empress Adaku fell to her knees, trembling. The gods had spoken. The people, too, saw the sign and cried out in fear. She must be spared. The gods are watching. With no other choice, the empress stood and raised her hands. The gods have spoken. Nnenna shall live. A great cheer erupted from the villagers, and Nnenna's mother collapsed in relief. But Empress Adaku knew this was far from over. If Nnenna was truly a child of the gods, what did this mean for the kingdom? Had the balance of power just shifted? As Nnenna returned to her mother's arms, she whispered, "This is only the beginning." And indeed, it was. Yet, that very night, the air in Igbozu seemed heavy with mystery. Though Nnenna was spared from the sacrifice, people still eyed her with curiosity and a hint of fear. Farmers swore they felt the ground tremble beneath their huts, and fishermen claimed the tides in the great river rose higher than ever before. Empress Adaku wandered the palace halls, troubled thoughts tossing in her mind. Each footstep echoed with a strange finality, as though the walls themselves held secrets. She called once more for Baba Ekwim, hoping the old diviner might calm her anxieties. "Your Majesty," he said in his raspy voice, "the power around Nnenna cannot be ignored. She is touched by Uhamiri. The storms and winds are only the beginning." Adaku's gaze darkened. Though she had saved Nnenna's life, she worried the girl's presence threatened her authority. Ignoring the prophecy might anger the gods, but letting Nnenna grow stronger could undermine her rule. She was torn between fear and pride. Meanwhile, Nnenna sat by a small fire outside her mother's hut. Mama Ifioma gently braided her hair, humming an old lullaby. The villagers who once turned away now gathered in hushed circles, watching her from a distance. Some believed she was their protector, destined to free them from the empress's harsh reign. Others thought she might bring ruin with her strange power. A sudden gust of wind rushed through the village, making the torches flicker. Nnenna looked up, sensing a familiar voice in the breeze. It was like a distant whisper, reminding her that her journey was far from over. Far across the river, inside the palace, Empress Adaku drummed her fingers on the arm of her throne. "Let the people whisper," she muttered, "but I will not be overshadowed in my own kingdom." Deep down, she knew she was only at the start of a battle unlike any she had fought before. As the night wore on, dark clouds formed again overhead. Strange lights flickered among the tall baobab trees, and a restless energy swept through Igbozu. Neither the empress nor the villagers could know exactly what these signs foretold, but they all sensed the arrival of something powerful, something that could change everyone's fate. And so, beneath the watchful gaze of the sky, the people of Igbozu held their breath, waiting for dawn and for whatever destiny would unfold next. When dawn finally broke, the villagers emerged from their huts to find a soft mist clinging to the ground. The air smelled of wet earth and distant rain. Children rubbed sleepy eyes, while their parents whispered about the eerie lights they'd seen dancing among the baobab trees overnight. In her family compound, Nnenna woke early. Even before her mother stirred, she felt a pull in her chest, as if someone, or something, was calling her name. Stepping out of the hut, she walked barefoot through the Duki's grass, following a faint, comforting sound in the distance. It led her to the edge of the great river that curved around Igbozu like a protective arm. The water shimmered under the golden morning light. As Nnenna knelt by the bank, she placed her hand on the surface. A gentle breeze rippled across the water, and for a moment, she thought she heard a voice whisper her name, Nnenna. Nnenna. Her heart pounded, yet she felt strangely calm. She remembered Baba Ekwim's words about the river goddess, Uhamiri. Could it be that Uhamiri was reaching out to her now? Back in the palace, Empress Adaku sat on a carved wooden throne in the main hall. Her advisors lined the room, their faces tight with worry. Rumors of last night's strange lights had spread like wildfire. Some swore it was the spirits of the ancestors. Others blamed restless gods. But one thing was clear, tension hung heavy in the air. "Your Majesty," said one elder, clearing his throat, "the people grow uneasy. They speak of omens and powers beyond our understanding. They wonder if the choice to spare the girl has brought a curse." Adaku closed her eyes for a moment, taking a slow breath. "Summon the chiefs," she ordered. "We will hold a council in the courtyard. Let everyone see that their empress still rules with wisdom and bravery." The elder bowed and hurried off. Adaku's gaze swept across the hall, resting on a small window through which she could see the morning sun. Part of her wanted to demand that Nnenna be brought to the palace and watched closely. Another part feared that any move against the girl might provoke the gods. Meanwhile, Nnenna's mother, Mama Ifeoma, awoke to find her daughter missing. Fear clenched her heart until she spotted Nnenna strolling back from the river, her eyes bright with a new kind of resolve. Mama Ifeoma rushed over, grabbing Nnenna's hands. "Child, where have you been? You had me worried sick." Nnenna smiled softly. "I'm sorry, Mama. I felt a pull toward the river. It's hard to explain." Mama Ifeoma eyed her daughter carefully. There was something different about Nnenna. She looked calmer, yet there was also a quiet determination in her eyes. "Promise me you'll be careful," Mama Ifeoma said. "You know the Empress will be watching. She's not the sort to let you roam free forever." Nnenna nodded. "I promise, Mama." Later that morning, the village of Igbozu buzzed with activity as messengers announced a gathering at the palace courtyard. Curious farmers, traders, and fishermen left their tasks and made their way through the winding streets. Elders and chiefs arrived in ceremonial attire, their beaded necklaces rattling with each step. All around them, people murmured about omens, about Nnenna, and about the future of the kingdom. Standing in the palace courtyard, surrounded by carved pillars and colorful murals, Empress Adaku addressed her subjects. Her voice, though firm, held a note of uncertainty. "My people," she began, "we have all witnessed strange happenings. The wind, the lightning, the voices in the night. I will not lie to you. Our kingdom stands at a crossroads." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But fear not. We are Igbozu. We have weathered storms and wars. We will not bow to superstition." Some of the gathered crowd seemed reassured, while others glanced at one another uneasily. Empress Adaku raised her hand to continue, but just then, a ripple of gasps spread through the courtyard. People parted to reveal Nnenna, stepping forward quietly. Mama Ifeoma trailed behind her, trying to pull her back, but Nnenna moved with steady purpose. She met the Empress's gaze, and once more, that strange hush fell over the crowd. It was as though an unseen power crackled in the air between them. Adaku's voice caught in her throat, and for a heartbeat, the entire courtyard was silent. Then Nnenna spoke, her words clear. "Your Majesty, I mean no disrespect. But I ask for permission to speak to the people." Every eye turned to the Empress, waiting to see how she would respond. To refuse might anger the gods further. To allow it might weaken her authority. Adaku's hands trembled at her sides. "Speak," she managed to say, her tongue clipped. "But choose your words carefully, girl." Nnenna nodded, stepping forward. She looked around at the faces of elders, farmers, warriors, mothers with babies on their backs, and the old and young alike. My people, Nnenna began, I stand here because the gods showed mercy on me. But I believe they also showed mercy on Igbozu. The storms and lights we see are signs. Uhamiri does not wish to destroy us, she wishes to guide us. We must respect the old traditions, yes, but we cannot let fear rule our hearts. Her voice seemed to carry on the breeze, wrapping around everyone. Even the guards, who moments before had been ready to grab her, stood transfixed. In the days to come, Nnenna continued, I sense we will face challenges. We will need courage, not just from the throne, but from every home. The gifts we have, our farms, our crafts, our families, are blessings meant to be guarded. A low murmur spread through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, others looked uncertain. But no one could deny there was something in Nnenna's voice that stirred their spirits. High above, clouds began to gather once more, sending a swirl of wind across the courtyard. Empress Adaku felt her heart thunder. She did not like this feeling, like she was losing her grip on the kingdom. Still, she forced a smile. You speak of unity, child, yet you stand here only because our laws spared you. Let us see if these storms truly mean what you claim. Inside her head, however, the Empress's thoughts churned. She would not allow some girl, even one rumor, to be favored by the gods, to overshadow her rule. One way or another, she would find a method to keep Igbozu under her control. Nnenna bowed, sensing the Empress's hostility. But she also felt a warm reassurance flowing within her, as if the very land beneath her feet was lending her strength. As the crowd began to disperse, a rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. The story of Igbozu, of Empress Adaku's struggle for power, and of Nnenna's mysterious destiny, was only unfolding further. None could say what the next dawn would bring. But one truth was certain, the fate of the kingdom was changing, shaped by forces both mortal and divine. The sun rose once again over Igbozu, and the battles of will continued in hushed corners of the palace. Empress Adaku grew bolder in her schemes, sending spies to watch Nnenna's every move. Yet each plan was thwarted by uncanny coincidences, a guard tripping at the wrong moment, a door that wouldn't open, a storm rolling in to scatter would-be captors. Late one evening, the Empress gathered her most loyal advisors in a hidden chamber. We cannot wait for the gods to decide our fate, she hissed, her eyes fierce. If we do nothing, the people will turn against us. They already whispered that I am in the shadow of a young girl. We will strike first. A hush fell over the advisors as Adaku outlined her plan, to lure Nnenna to a faraway shrine under the pretense of honoring Uhamiri, then ensure she never returned. News of the ritual soon reached Nnenna's ears. Though suspicious, she sensed this confrontation was unavoidable. This is the final test, Baba Ekwim told her. But trust in the river goddess. She has not guided you this far only to abandon you. Together, Nnenna and Mama Ifeoma traveled by moonlight to the shrine, a remote place surrounded by twisted trees and overgrown vines. Empress Adaku, cloaked in regal attire, greeted them with a chilling smile. Torches flickered against stone walls, casting eerie shadows. Nnenna of Igbozu, the Empress proclaimed. You say you bring blessings to our people. Prove your devotion to Uhamiri here tonight. Nnenna knelt before the shrine, her heart steady. She felt the pulse of the river in her veins, the quiet power she had come to know. I offer my respect to Uhamiri, she said. And to all who protect Igbozu. In the corner of her eye, she saw armed guards creeping closer, ready to spring at Adaku's signal. Mama Ifeoma trembled beside her, but Nnenna placed a calming hand on her mother's arm. "Do you not fear me?" the Empress demanded, stepping forward. Nnenna rose slowly. "I fear only the harm we inflict on each other when we forget compassion and respect." A sudden gale howled through the shrine, snuffing out the torches. Rain pounded the earth, and thunder roared. The guards scrambled, unsure of what to do in the darkness. Lightning flashed, and in that split second, Nnenna seemed to glow with a soft radiance, as though the river itself coursed through her spirit. Adaku raised her arm, about to order the guards to seize Nnenna, but a blinding bolt of lightning tore through the sky, striking a tall tree behind them. The tree split, sending sparks and flames into the air. Terrified, the guards dropped their weapons and fled. Empress Adaku stood rooted to the spot, rain drenching her regal robes. She met Nnenna's gaze, and for the first time, genuine fear shone in her eyes. "Empress," Nnenna said gently, "take my hand. The gods do not wish for our destruction. They wish for harmony in Igbozu." For a moment, Adaku wavered, her pride warring with her terror. Then she extended her trembling hand. As their fingers touched, the storm seemed to calm. The rain lessened to a soft drizzle, and the thunder roared away into the distance. In that silence, something in Adaku's hardened heart cracked. She sank to her knees, tears mingling with raindrops. "I have lived in fear of losing my power," she whispered, "but my greatest enemy was my own pride." Nnenna knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "The greatest power is not domination," she said softly, "but unity." And so, under the soaked night sky, Empress Adaku and Nnenna found a fragile peace. The guards returned, humbled by the display of nature's fury. Mama Ifeoma cried tears of relief, embracing her daughter as though she had returned from the brink of death. In the days that followed, news of the strange night at the shrine spread through Igbozu. Villagers spoke of lightning and wonders, of a fierce empress who knelt beside the girl once meant to be buried alive. A new sense of hope began to blossom. Though old traditions would still be respected, a renewed spirit of compassion and cooperation took hold. No longer would fear drive the kingdom's laws. Empress Adaku, guided by humility, worked alongside her council to improve the lives of her people. Markets thrived, farms flourished, and peace settled over Igbozu's borders. Nnenna became a beloved figure, sharing her wisdom and listening to the concerns of all who sought her out. Sometimes, she still felt the call of Uhamiri at the river's edge, and she would go there to offer thanks. Thus ended the strife between Empress Adaku and Nnenna. Though the path had been filled with danger and uncertainty, their final harmony proved that mercy could overcome cruelty, and unity could dissolve even the strongest pride. Morally, this tale reminds us that no one, be they ruler or commoner, should let fear and arrogance rule their hearts. True strength lies in understanding, compassion, and humility. When we learn to respect the forces greater than ourselves and value the lives of those around us, we find real peace and prosperity. Thank you for following this tale of Igbozu, dear viewers. We hope you found it as inspiring as we did. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who was your favorite character? What did you learn from the story? Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life. May wisdom and unity guide your path, wherever you are.